Welcome to worship in the Unitarian Universalist Church of Charlotte. For more than 7 decades, we have been on a journey of liberating faith. Quite literally, in our early years, we moved from place to place. Since then, though our physical location has remained the same, how we understand and organize ourselves, how we offer Sunday services and other parts of our programming, and how we seek to make an impact in the larger community have all changed many times. Whatever else is uncertain, this much is clear. This has never been a place where we've been able to say, but it's always been this way. Today, we continue the journey of liberating faith. Today marks a milestone in our self-understanding and in how we understand ourselves in relationship to the larger community. Today, building on all that we have been doing for the past couple of years, we become anew again with humility, with curiosity, with passion, with a certain measure of anxiety, determined to embody all that we now know in the inspiring work of transformation. Today we make an important distinction, not between good work and bad work, but between good work and our work. Appreciatively aware that we as individuals have many ways to make a difference, to meet need. We say today not what you shouldn't do, but what we are going to do collectively. We do so aware that as individuals we'll continue choosing our own ways to make a difference and to meet need. On this new day, we offer quite intentionally a very different kind of service. You saw that when you got your order of service. I'm glad you're here, member, visitor alike, as we prepare to sing a brand new song in a whole different way. I invite you to find someone near you and greet them with warmth and enthusiasm.
Let the light of our chalice connect us in this sacred space and carry us into the world, assured of our next steps in cultivating courageous connections.
We have a reading this morning by author, populist, and self-described left-leaning libertarian Molly Ivins. It was first published in Mother Jones, May 1993. A key figure in the reading is John Henry Falk. Falk was a storyteller and radio show host in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. He was blacklisted, and his successful lawsuit against the entertainment industry helped end the Hollywood blacklist. Ivins and Falk were both Texans. I reckon the man who taught most of us how to have fun while fighting for freedom was John Henry Falk. Despite getting blacklisted during the McCarthy era and having a number of other misadventures during his life, Johnny was never lost his sense of mischief, and to the end of his days, he could be counted on to hatch some elaborate practical joke to bedevil whichever do-badder had most recently and most egregiously harmed the cause of liberty and justice for all. Johnny used to tell a story about when he was a Texas Ranger, a captain, in fact. He was 7 at the time. His friend Boots Cooper, who was 6, was sheriff, and the two of them used to do a lot of heavy law enforcement out behind the Falk place in South Austin. One day, Johnny's mama, having 2 such fine officers on the place, asked them to go down to the hen house and rout out the chicken snake that had been doing some damage there. Johnny and Boots loped down to the hen house on their trusty brooms and commenced to search for the snake. They went all through the nests on the bottom shelf of the hen house and couldn't find it. So the both of them stood on tippy toes to look on the top shelf. Now, I myself have never been nose to nose with a chicken snake, but I always took Johnny's word for it that it will just scare the living heck out of you. Scared those boys so bad that they both tried to exit the hen house at the same time, doing considerable damage to both themselves and the door. Johnny's mama, Ms. Falk, was a kindly lady, but watching all of this, it struck her funny. She was still laughing when the captain and the sheriff trailed back up to the front porch. "Boys, boys," said Ms. Falk, "what is wrong with you? You know perfectly well a chicken snake cannot hurt you." That's when Boots Cooper made his semi-immortal observation. "Yes, ma'am," he said, "but there's some things will scare you so bad you hurt yourself." And isn't that what we keep doing in this country over and over again? We get scared so bad about the communist menace or illegal immigration or AIDS or pornography or violent crime some damn scary thing that we hurt ourselves. We take the odd notion that the only way to protect ourselves is to give up some of our freedom. Just trim a little, hedge a bit, and we'll all be safe after all. Those who think of freedom in this country as one long, broad path leading ever onward and upward are dead damn wrong. Many a time, freedom has been rolled back, and always for some sorry reason, the same sorry reason, in fact, fear. So one thing I have learned from Johnny Falk, from Texas, and from living life is that since you don't always win, you got to learn to enjoy just fighting the good fight.
Five years ago, our board of trustees took a courageous step. They charged the whole group in our congregation to take a long, hard look at who we had been and who we are, at our larger faith and larger community, and who we could be and should be at a future far different from the present, and then to craft for our consideration a new vision for the Unitarian Universalist Church of Charlotte. For 2 years, our vision steering team did just that, under the able guidance of co-chairs Fred Dodson and Michael Elder. A whole new way of imagining ourselves emerged. After considerable conversation and some revision, almost 3 years ago now, the congregation together affirmed a vision that audaciously called us to the work of spiritual, societal, and environmental transformation. It was, we said, a vision so audacious that it would take years to accomplish. 25 years in the making. Almost exactly 2 years ago, our board again showed courage. In a boldly unprecedented call to action, they charted the first steps in this long new journey. Their call is summarized on the front of your order. And in the simple yet oh so challenging words, listen, step up, show up, speak up. Today, 4 of the 6 volunteer members of our Intersectional Justice Team, a group formed late last summer, give us an account. They'll walk us through the steps on this visionary journey that have enabled us to arrive at this day. I stand before you as a fellow learner, as one whose mind and whose perspective has been changed in the past few years. I've listened and I've learned so much. I stand before you deeply, deeply grateful to all of you who have participated, supported, funded, encouraged, expressed appreciation, challenged, reshaped, led, and believed in who we are striving to become. I'm grateful to all of you who have trusted even when you haven't fully understood, even when it has made and is making you and me uncomfortable, even when it has asked us to reconsider, as our board put it, even our worthiest habits and traditions. This has not been easy. This will not be easy. The fight for freedom and justice is never easy. So amidst all of our hard work and all of our deepening commitment, will you please help me remember that we must keep singing, we must keep dancing, we must continue enjoying who we are becoming.
Good morning. I'm Barbara Conrad. I'm on the Intersectional Team. And before we get into the details of what next for our vision, we want to take a minute to recognize the many ways our members have been preparing for this day, often not knowing what this day would look like. I call this activity ups and downs, and here's how it goes. When I name an item that pertains to you, please stand as you are able, or at least raise both hands, then return to your seat for the next item. Are you all ready? In the past 2 years, who has attended at least one sermon where transformation was the focus? Please stand. All right, sit back down. Who remembers being urged at least once to get out of your comfort zone? Great. And you're still here. What members participated last year in either a racial justice or environmental justice core group? Please stand. What members are taking that same deep dive this year in either a cultural justice or economic justice core group? Please stand. Okay. Who participated either last year or this weekend in the anti-racism training facilitated by the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond? Who came to one or more of the presentations on environmental justice? Okay. Who came to a film and discussion either here or in the community? And stand and keep standing, because I'm going to tell you a couple of them, several of them. Henry Louis Gates' The African Americans, Requiem for the American Dream, The Evolution of Grace Lee Boggs, and any other film that you may have that focuses on our vision. Great, thank you. Who participated in a community or congregational book study and or discussion for any of these books? Again, stand and keep standing. Just Mercy, Waking Up White, Evicted, The Color of Law, White Fragility, which begins this week, and any other book that pertains to our vision. Okay, thank you. Who participated in a community event, maybe the No Justice, No Peace exhibit at the Museum of the New South, or something at the Harvey Gantt Center, or at the Stan Greenspon Center, or Temple Bethel, or McMinn, etc.? Be sure to look around when you're standing. Thank you. Who attended one or more of our immigration speaker series? Who came to the Time Out Youth presentations, LGBTQ 101? Who came to our class and classism series? Who attended Jay's recent What Do We Mean by White Supremacy workshops? Who attended our presentation on Islamophobia? Great. Who has sat in court to support someone at a hearing? Who has marched or held a sign for the cause of social justice? Who has attended a city council meeting in the past 2 years? Who is serving on either a racial justice or environmental justice engagement team? And please give a shout out if you were involved in something that we've overlooked. And finally, if you stood at least once during this activity, please all stand now. That's great. Thank you. To all of you, we say thank you. And to all of you who support this congregation in other ways, by singing in the choir, making coffee, ushering, working with our youth, pledging your financial support, filling the pews, volunteering at Habitat, Change Choices, local schools, the men's shelter, legal services. We thank you. It takes all of us working together to make our vision a reality.
Don't you know they're talking about a revolution, and it sounds like a whisper. Don't you know they're talking about a revolution, and it sounds like a whisper, while they're standing in the welfare lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment line, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Don't you know they're talking about a revolution, and it sounds like a whisper. Poor people gonna rise up, they're gonna take their share. Poor people gonna rise up, they're gonna get what's theirs. So I said you better run, 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 run. Don't you know you better run, 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 run. 'Cause finally the tables are starting to turn, talking about a revolution, oh Lord, talking about a revolution, oh, while they're standing in the welfare lines and crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment line, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Don't you know they're talking about a revolution, and it sounds like a whisper. And poor people gonna rise up, gonna get their share. Poor people gonna rise up, they're gonna take what's theirs. And finally the tables are starting to turn, talking about a revolution, oh Lord, talking about a revolution, oh Lord. And it sounds like a whisper, sounds like a whisper. It comes in like a lamb, goes out like a lion. Come in like a lamb, go out like a lion. It sounds like a whisper now. Sounds like a whisper. Sounds like a whisper.
Good morning. My name is Dustin Taylor. I'm another member of the Intersectional Justice Team. In 2017 and 2018, I was a member of the Environmental Justice Core Group. We gathered for several months, educating ourselves and each other about environmental justice and injustice. Our work was often daunting and depressing, but for me, the other group members' interest in and commitment to justice was inspiring and uplifting. As the Racial Justice Core Group completed a similar deep dive, each group brainstormed a list of ideas of what we should look for in potential relationships as we strive to cultivate courageous connections and partner in the work of justice pursuant to this congregation's mission. We settled on certain criteria or guiding principles for this search. Admittedly, and I think purposefully, these principles are ambitious and idealistic. It is unlikely that any relationship will satisfy them all, and that is okay. Our work for justice and transformation is likely to be imperfect and even messy at times. Some of these guiding principles include to be led by those affected by injustice, supported by and have a high level of participation from the community they serve, reflect demonstrated effectiveness and a local focus with the opportunity to make a difference. Allow us to do work that aligns with our principles, our vision, and our mission. Offer the potential to develop long-term trusting relationships with sustained congregational engagement. Offer multiple levels of participation and have transformation as their ultimate goal by offering something other than charity. These guiding principles have and will continue to assist our engagement groups as they search our community for opportunities for all of us to cultivate courageous connections and partner in the work of justice. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Megan Van Fleet, and I am also a member of the Intersectional Justice Team. As Dustin mentioned, one of our guiding principles for choosing partners in the community is that the relationship would offer the potential to develop a long-term, trusting relationship with sustained congregational engagement. This week, we take our first steps into these relationships. As a congregation, we should be excited and maybe a little nervous for what's ahead. These are the beginnings of potential relationships with movement leaders in Charlotte. Yes, the organizations they represent are ones we support, but this is just as much an effort to lift up leadership that's moving us toward transformation. This is relational work, meaning we are trusting and building trust and relationships with people. In order to build trust, we're committing our time in working toward the ultimate goal of transformation under their leadership. We are decentering our perspective on both needs and solutions. We are not leading with what we want to do, but rather listening for how we are needed. UU Minister Nancy McDonald Ladd had these words to share in her recent article in UU World: "Nothing we do will be perfect." We are not going to have a perfect strategy, and the strategy we ultimately follow cannot be a strategy that the white people among us can set for ourselves. We are going to stay in it, even when it's hard. For as long as we can, to the extent that our hearts can bear, we are going to stay in it together. In this work, we will continue to listen and learn as we are following the leadership of community members. We will absolutely make mistakes in this work, but we must commit to continue learning together as we grow. We must trust in the leadership of these potential relationships, and we must not, as Molly Ivins reminds us, forget to have fun doing it.
Our Intersectional Justice Team is charged with coordinating this work inside these walls. We've charged two groups with identifying the work outside of these walls, the first of which is our Racial Justice Engagement Group, and it's led by Susan Cox.
I think it's still morning. Good morning. I have the privilege of leading the Racial Justice Engagement Group. Each member of this group participated in the Racial Justice Core Group and/or the Undoing Racism Workshop last March. I name these members with appreciation, admiration, and awe. Please raise your hand as I call your name. Debbie Rubenstein, Naomi De La Cruz Spencer, Catherine Whitfield, Tawana Wilson Allen, and Beth Musay. Thank you so much for your commitment. This group began meeting in September. I want you to understand the intentionality of our work. As noted earlier, guiding principles were generated from our core groups last May. They are audacious, lofty, somewhat intimidating. We realized quickly that we needed to prioritize that list and that we would not be able to check all the boxes. We wrestled with the concept of transformation, struggling to define what it is and is not. We created lists of organizations, identified contacts and leaders, and named issues we believe demand transformation. We asked other members for their suggestions. We developed questions to help us understand the work of those groups and individuals and began reaching out. We learned the lessons of humility and white-centeredness. Not everyone was as eager to talk with us as we were with them. There are many groups doing important and inspiring work in this community who did not meet our specifically identified criteria. That does not mean the work they're doing is not critical. It's just not our work. We eventually developed a list of about 15 organizations and individuals for continuing consideration. Some we have now eliminated for various reasons. Some we're still considering. As a starting point, we focused on 3 potential relationships. We're continuing to explore options and are especially hopeful of finding more possibilities for engagement with our families and youth. We want to have a variety of opportunities requiring differing levels of skill, interest, time, and commitment. Some of these may offer the possibility of long-term relationships. Others may not. That won't be a failure. It is an expected part of our journey. Our role is to support the work of other organizations who are led by those most impacted by the issues, not to define what we think they should be doing. That may be a challenge for many, if not most of us. The actual work we do may not always feel transformative, but our hope is to support the work of the organization in whatever way we are asked and are able to do. So while you may be working with a formerly incarcerated individual struggling to obtain employment or adequate housing, or with someone currently involved in the court process, the larger goal may be transforming the prison system, or the court system, or the way we approach affordable housing in Charlotte. So here are our initial relationships. We will work with Christy Williams, who is supported by the ACLU, doing court watching and data collection. Madeline McClinney at the Exodus Foundation will provide several opportunities for us. We will give feedback for a pilot training program on cultural competence. We will mentor formerly incarcerated individuals in job readiness skills. We will also have the opportunity to help Exodus create some financial stability through a fundraising project. Finally, for now, the Housing Justice Coalition, led by Robert Dawkins and Bree Newsom, will ask us to show up in support of their vision of affordable housing whenever critical decisions are being made. Some of these opportunities will require minimal training, some are more involved. Some of that training will be provided by our partners, others by leaders here. You will have support. More details and explanations will be shared in the discussion after this service. This list will grow as we continue exploring. I'm excited to embark on this next stage and look forward to growing with you.
Second group, working to create relationships outside of these walls, is our Environmental Justice Engagement Group, and it is headed by June Blotnick.
Good morning. The Environmental Justice engagement group is a small but mighty group, and besides myself, we have Michael, Amy Sierra, and Elizabeth Pruitt as part of our team. We have all been involved with the EJ Deep Dive team and Green Sanctuary over the last 2 or 3 years. So we did a lot of work to get to this point personally. We also did our research last fall and looked around the community to see who was engaged in environmental justice group. First of all, there are not that many environmental groups in the Charlotte area, and there are even fewer groups doing environmental justice. Doesn't mean there aren't EJ issues out there, but there are few and far between in terms of groups organized, really looking at that intersection. So, but we are happy to report that we have found a group and have begun engagement with them, and that organization is known as RETI, R-E-T-I, and it stands for Renewable Energy Transition Initiative. And they are about the work of sustainably decreasing the cost for families that have an energy burden, and that means paying more than 10% of their monthly income for energy. This organization was founded by DeAndrea Salvador, who's a 5th-generation Charlottean, and grew up listening to neighbors of hers complain and worry about how they were going to pay their light bills. And so she started this organization to address that need. Where we are now is we've had conversations with RETI, and members of this congregation will meet with their board and their staff next Sunday to identify issues that they could use our help on. They have a very small staff and a very small board, so capacity building is clearly their priority issue. So we're very excited about those possibilities to work with them over the next coming years. I have information down in the Bernstein room about that organization, but you can go to readyset.org to learn more. Thanks.
Good morning. My name is Doug Swaim, and I am the Director of Administration for this congregation, and I'd like to welcome you to this morning's service. We're happy you're with us today in this room or joining us remotely. We're pleased to have guests with us. Our members would like to greet you personally following the service. So if you are visiting, please raise your hand and keep it up. Don't be bashful over there. Members, take note of guests seated near you. After the service, invite them to join you for coffee and conversation in Freeman Hall. Should it enhance your experience of future services, you can find both a large print order of service and a hearing assistance device on the table at the entrance to the sanctuary. Also, an elevator is located to the left of the entrance. If you'd like to learn more about us, please fill out a yellow card and place it in an offering basket later in the service. Members with a life event to share, you can do the same thing on the reverse side of the card. The cards and offering envelopes are on the clipboards at the end of the row. Please begin passing them now. Visitors interested in hearing more about how to become a member can talk to our membership coordinator, Kelly Green. Her contact information is on the back of your order. Again, to each of you, welcome.
Most important concern I have to call your attention to today is this. Following this service, we're going to forego the greeting line that typically takes place at the door. We will, of course, take time to welcome our visitors, and especially in light of your need today, we will take time to get coffee or tea in Freeman Hall. But we'll reconvene downstairs in the Bernstein Room to continue this conversation, to entertain your immediate questions about what you've heard, to hear specifics about our very initial engagements in the larger community. And it's in that session, following the service, downstairs in the Bernstein Room, that we will, at long last, circulate clipboards where you can sign up to be involved in this work in the larger community. These are the first of many opportunities to come in the coming months and years. There's much more that's going on today and this week. You'll find announcements, if not an order, in your order of service today. There's more learning that's taking place this week. There is on Wednesday another family ministry session. And this week there is, pursuant to our need to enjoy ourselves while we're doing this work, there is a dance this week as well. While much here is in flux, this much remains the same. We are here to nurture a loving community. Alongside all of the other activity from these past 2 years, we've continued calling, we've continued visiting, we've continued cooking and sharing and reaching out in loving support and concern. Today, even as we center our concerns in the larger community, we make space in our hearts, in our loving, and in our praying for Eric Davis and his family as Eric recovers from surgery, for Brenda and Lloyd Dillon as Brenda continues with health struggles, for David and Karen Duvall as they grieve both the loss of David's father and of Karen's brother-in-law this week. We hold with love and in our prayers Lee and Cindy Martinick as Lee recuperates from recent surgery. Patricia and Michael Rabel as they mourn the death this week of Patricia's mom. And we hold with love Erica Sliker and her family as they grieve the death of Erica's father. I invite us now to a time of meditation and aspiration, the opportunity to breathe deeply together. O God of all people, may we be instruments of freedom, justice, and peace. Where there is brokenness, may we show compassion. When we are wronged, may we offer pardon. Where there is doubt, may we foster trust. Where there is despair, may we be beacons of hope. Encourage with humility. May we not so much seek to be comfortable as to comfort, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. May we discover anew that it is in giving that we receive, that it is in giving that we receive, and that it is in giving that we receive. Amen. Break it down to its sister.
being. Street Baptist, wrap this in fine linen. From the beginning, my practice extending across the atlas. I begat this, flipping in the ghetto on a dirty mattress. You can't match this rapper slash actress, more powerful than two Cleopatras. Bomb graffiti on the tomb of Nefertiti. MCs ain't ready to take it to the Serengeti. My rhymes are heavy, like the mind of Sister Betty. L Boogie spars with stars and constellations, then came down for a little conversation. Adjacent to the king, fear no human being. Roll with cherubims to Nassau Coliseum. Now hear this mixture, hip-hop meets scripture. Develop a negative into a positive picture. 'Cause everything is everything. What is meant to be will be. You know, after winter must come spring. Change is gonna come eventually. Sometimes it seems we'll touch that dream, but things come slow or not at all. And the ones on top won't make it stop, so convinced that they might fall. But let's love ourselves so we can't fail to make a better situation. And tomorrow our seeds will grow. All we need is dedication. Let me tell you, everything is everything. What is meant to be will be. Soon after winter must come spring. Everything is everything. I said everything is everything. What is meant to be, what is meant to be will be. You know that after winter must come spring. Change is gonna come eventually. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Everything is everything. Change gonna come eventually.
There are many ways to become invested in the work of this congregation. Today, the range of those opportunities is expanding. As we give in many ways, we also receive in many ways. The ushers will now pass the offering baskets.
I'm Ann Doss Helms, and as you've probably figured out, I am also a member of the Intersectional Justice Team. That team also includes Janet Zick and Dave Walsh, who helped plan this service but were not able to be with us today. I'm tempted to follow Barbara's lead and ask you to stand if you've ever said, "When are we going to stop talking and start doing something?" I think we've all felt a little impatience and frustration in these last couple of years. I hope this service has helped us all to see that we've already been doing and will continue to do vital work within the walls of this congregation. If we had stepped out into the community without doing the work to transform ourselves, we'd have done more harm than good. But now, finally, we're ready to step outside. I hope you can join us at 12:30 in the Bernstein Room for a chance to hear more about the opportunities that Susan and June outlined and to sign up. If first service is any indication, that room is going to be packed, so be prepared to suck it in and crowd in. If for some reason you can't make it, this will not, of course, be your last chance to sign up or to get engaged, nor will the opportunities that you're hearing about today be the only ones. These are just early steps on our journey toward collective liberation. There will be many, many more opportunities in the weeks, months, and years ahead of us. The work of the Intersectional Justice Team is to make sure that all of us know about and engage with these new relationships and opportunities. We'll be using traditional approaches, such as tables in Freeman Hall and articles in Currents, but we'll also be looking for new ways. For instance, we've talked about forming rapid response teams of people who have a deep interest in one or more of these partnerships and can mobilize when there's an urgent need. If you're interested in such a role, or if you have ideas for ways to build and sustain energy around these new projects, please talk to any of us. As we cross this threshold, I hope we all feel a sense of excitement and urgency, tempered with patience and humility. As Jay said, this won't be easy. We'll stumble and we'll struggle, and we'll help each other when we do. And we will know that we are moving, step by step, toward our mission of cultivating courageous connections and partnering in the work of justice. Please join me in an affirmation of our faith, rising in body or spirit. Challenged by our liberating faith, we discover deeper spiritual meaning, nurture loving community, cultivate courageous connections, and partner in the work of justice.
thank you, Lisa Lackey, for your song leadership today. Because we know that musicians love nothing more than getting up early. Thank you, Shana and Keith. And to our own musicians, John and Ben and Fred, thank you so much. For more than 7 decades, we have been a congregation on a journey of liberating faith. Today, that journey continues. For us to continue on that journey with despair, for us to continue on that journey without hope, would dishonor all of those on whose shoulders we now stand. Our forebears, our ancestors who dreamed us into being and who sustained us for this very moment. Let us go, being the light of change and lifting one another up into the light of change. But before you do, there's one more treat to remind you that as we do the hard work, it's okay to have fun. Please, be seated.